Greetings. I just wanted to make a very, very brief video with a bit of a historical note about the Hebrew calendar and One West. You see, yesterday, Orion Lob, one of the elders at GMS, put up a video titled "The New Moon is Not the Full Moon." And his video was itself building upon a video by his leader, Tahar, which was titled "Meddle Not with Them That Are Given to Change." And remember that title, as there's a certain irony there. Meddle not with them that are given to change. You see, that's from the King James Version of Proverbs 24:21. And Tahar was using that against IUIC changing their approach to when the lunar month begins. And the implication is that IUIC is wrong for diverging from what was the agreed upon system among One Westers. Now, of course, if they wanted to, IUIC could bring up things that GMS has changed, like, for example, the adoption of the lunar Sabbath and so on, but that's another topic. Getting back to Orion Lob's video, there were a couple instances where he interacted with comments in the live chat, specifically comments from Vocab Malone, and I'm going to play a clip of one of those instances, and this will pick up a little bit after the 10-minute mark, and I'll put Vocab's comment on the screen for reference, and then afterwards I'll discuss why I see some historical significance to what was said. Okay, so with that, here's the clip.
And even when you go to a, let's just type in phases of the moon. Let's go to images. Let's see if we can find a good one. Here we go. This is perfect. Matter of fact, let's get this one. Let me open this up. Just bear with me. Here we go. All right, so here you got the phases. Well, the calendar was kept based off of, the vernal equinox, which was the beginning of the month in the spring. That's how it was kept, as High Priest Ariah used to set up the calendars every year, and then eventually it was passed down to Elder Apostle Tahar, so on and so forth, as you see it today. I heard Tahar say Ariah told everyone to feast, but was he using moon cycles or something else? Do you know? Thank you. Yeah, I'm sure he was using the new moon, because how else was he able to calculate when the 14th day at evening would come? From what point? They were going from the new moon, because that's the new moon is the beginning of the month. So yeah, that's how it was established.
Okay, so the part I wanted to zero in on in that clip was the portion where Orion Lob alluded to how when Ariah did the calendar, the vernal equinox played a role in starting the year. And that would basically be the standard rabbinic position as well. You see, the equinox falls in or just before the first month, but put differently, the month of Abib or the month of Nisan. It's rabbinic calendar's a bit complex as they have multiple starts to the year, but, nonetheless, the so-called New Year for Kings, which is the text that's mentioned explicitly in Exodus, which pertains to the first month being Abib or Nisan. That's the month that Passover falls within, and the equinox falls in or just before that month, and the Passover is never to fall before the vernal equinox. And this ties in with the idea that spring relates to the equinox. One Westers spent decades polemicizing against the modern West's New Year in January, and the polemic would basically say the New Year is supposed to be in the spring. But then GMS started holding Passover in February, which implied that they thought the first month could fall on the winter after all. And when that was pointed out to them, suddenly they had to detach the meaning of spring from the equinox. They had to water down the meaning of spring and arguably equivocate on the meaning of spring. And then, after enough criticism, Tahar tried to abruptly change the calendar, which led to all sorts of contradictions in his calendar, and his attempts to justify his different calendars were filled with just terrible arguments. And that was all discussed in a number of videos on the old Truth After Knowledge account 14 years ago, and it got so bad that Tahar basically started hiding his calendar. Many of those videos on GMS's calendar are gone, but some re-uploads to the TAKClassics channel from about 12 years ago still exist, and I'll link to those videos in the video description. But even this year, fast forward to 2023, GMS apparently started their Passover in the first week of March. this year. So, that's more than 2 weeks before the equinox. And I have to wonder if the old One West, before the splits, ever held Passover before the equinox. I doubt it, and I'm confident that they never held Passover in February. I mean, honestly, if you're holding Passover in February, at that point, you basically have the start of the year coinciding with Chinese New Year. And, gong hei fat choi to the elders of GMS on that one. Now, this might seem like a minor point. I understand that. I can appreciate that some will see this as hair splitting, but I wanted to document this, for the record and include it among my videos on One West history. Simply put, GMS approaches the calendar differently from how Arya did. And that's what makes it ironic that Tahar wanted you to contemplate the King James Version of Proverbs 24:21, which states in part, meddle not with them that are given to change. Seemingly that would include GMS. But on that note, I'll close the super brief video here. The point is just that GMS's approach to the calendar involves detaching spring from the equinox, but that was not the case at the old One West. Orion Lob alluded to how, the start of the year was connected to the equinox. But like I said, I'll close this video here. As always, I look forward to any comments, questions, or criticisms. I don't censor anyone here, so feel free to share your thoughts, and God bless.